We opened 7 receiver chassis. 5 had the same problem. The brands were different. The cost cutting was identical. Today, the repair shop tells you which ones failed and which 2 actually earned what they charge. No sponsored gear, no manufacturer relationships, just what the technicians know. Denon. Denon has manufactured audio equipment since 1910. The professional heritage is real. Broadcast turntables, studio amplifiers, equipment specified by Japanese public broadcasting for decades. That reputation was built honestly. What is being sold under that name in most living rooms today is not the same thing. The AVR X1800H and AVR X2800H, the receivers most buyers actually take home, use Class D amplification modules sourced from third-party suppliers. Open the chassis, and the power supply tells you everything. A switching design that prioritizes efficiency over the current delivery that sustained listening actually demands. The specification sheet says 80 watts per channel. That figure is measured at 1 kilohertz, one channel driven, into 8 ohms. Under real listening conditions, all channels driven simultaneously, the sustained output drops to approximately 40 watts. The number on the box is not false. It is simply measured under conditions that have nothing to do with how the product is used. The AVR X4800H and above are a different proposition. At that tier, the engineering is genuine. Prices mentioned are US-based estimates. Check your local market. Verdict: the entry and mid-range AVR line is cost-engineered to hit a price point. The specification on the box is measured under conditions designed to flatter, not inform. Buy this if your budget reaches the AVR X4800H or above. That is where the engineering substance actually shows up. Avoid it if you are buying the X1800H or X2800H. The power supply inside confirms what the price point already suggests. That is the first brand, a professional legacy attached to a consumer product that does not carry it. The next one does the same thing, and the chassis construction tells you before you even open it. Yamaha. Yamaha's professional credibility is specific and real. The NS1000M studio monitor, the Rivage PM mixing console, equipment trusted by major broadcasters worldwide. None of that engineering culture shows up in the RX-FI consumer receiver series. The RX-V4A and RX-V6A use amplification stages that technicians describe as minimum viable, components specified to function at stated power under ideal test conditions, not to perform under real ones. Tap the chassis with your knuckle. The thin steel panels ring like a drum. Cabinet resonance at listening volumes is audible and measurable. This is not an acoustic decision, it is a cost decision. The Aventage series is where Yamaha actually spends money on engineering. The H-shaped crossmember, the anti-resonance technology, discrete amplification stages. The Rex A4A and above are honest products. Verdict: the Rex V-line is built to a budget. The chassis tells you that before you connect a single cable. Buy this if your budget reaches the Aventage RX A4A or above, genuine engineering at a price that reflects it. Avoid it if you are buying the RX V series. Knock on the top panel before you hand over your money. If it rings, walk away. 2 brands, 2 entry lines that cannot survive the simple test of opening the chassis. The third has a more specific problem, one that has destroyed receivers in living rooms across the world and that the brand has never fully acknowledged. Onkyo. Onkyo built a genuine reputation for mid-market amplification. The TX series receivers from the 1970s and 1980s are still on technicians' benches for routine maintenance, not because they are failing, but because they are still being used. That is what honest engineering looks like 40 years later. Then came the HDMI board. Between 2014 and 2019, Onkyo used an HDMI switching board design across multiple receiver models that failed under sustained thermal load at a rate that generated class action litigation and eventually contributed to the company filing for bankruptcy protection in 2022. The amplification in these units still works. The HDMI board, which handles every audio and video signal in a modern AV receiver, fails. Without it, the unit becomes an expensive 2-channel amplifier with no inputs that matter. Onkyo was acquired by Sharp Corporation. Current production reflects a different company with a different cost structure than the one that built the brand's reputation. Verdict: a genuine engineering heritage, a documented catastrophic failure in a specific product generation, and a brand that changed hands under financial stress. That is the full picture. Buy this if you find pre-2014 Onkyo equipment in confirmed working condition. Those units were built honestly. Avoid it if you are buying second-hand units from 2014 to 2019. Ask the seller to demonstrate HDMI switching before you commit. If they cannot, walk away. 3 brands. 3 different ways a consumer receiver fails the reputation it is sold on. Before the final 2 on this side of the list, if this is the kind of content you want more of, subscribe now. Quick question: have you ever opened the chassis of a receiver you paid serious money for? What technicians find inside the next 2 will change how you read a specification sheet forever. And the 4th brand has a gap between its professional reputation and its consumer product that is wider than anything else on this list. Sony. Sony's professional engineering credentials are beyond question. Professional broadcast monitors, cameras specified by major broadcasters worldwide, studio equipment trusted by engineers who cannot afford to get it wrong. That trust is earned and specific. The STR-DH Consumer Receiver Series is not the product that earned it. The STR-DH590 uses a switching power supply and surface mount component construction throughout. It is rated at 145 watts per channel under the same single-channel test conditions that make every number on this list look better than reality. Under real conditions, the sustained output is a fraction of that figure. Open the chassis and the component quality matches the price point, not the brand name on the front panel. The ES series is Sony's honest product. The STR-N1000 ES uses a toroidal transformer, discrete amplification stages, through whole component construction in the signal path. It costs approximately $1,500 and it earns that price. Verdict: 2 products under the same logo with nothing in common except the badge. The STR-DH series is not the Sony that built the professional reputation. The chassis makes that clear the moment you open it. Buy this if your budget reaches the ES series. That is the Sony that justifies the name. Avoid it if you are buying the STR-DH series. The switching power supply inside is the first thing a technician notices. It should be the first thing you notice too. 4 brands. 4 receivers that use a professional reputation to justify a consumer price point the engineering does not support. The 5th has something the others do not, a vintage heritage so strong that it changes the calculation entirely, but only if you know exactly which models to look for. Pioneer. Pioneer's professional credibility is specific. TAD reference amplifiers, broadcast components, equipment trusted by mastering engineers. None of that carries into the current VSX consumer receiver series. The amplification stages use the same third-party Class D modules that appear across the consumer AV receiver market at this price point. The chassis construction reflects a cost target, not an acoustic one. What separates Pioneer from every other brand on this list is the vintage SX series. The SX1980, the SX1250, the X939, these are receivers that technicians regard as benchmarks. A Pioneer SX1250 in good condition outperforms most current production receivers at twice the price on every measurement that matters for 2-channel listening. The engineering in those units reflects an era when the primary competition was acoustic performance, not feature count. The Pioneer Elite series represents the brand's current attempt at honest engineering and carries more substance than the standard VSX line. Verdict: the current consumer VSX line does not carry the Pioneer name honestly. The vintage SX series does, and finding one in good condition is one of the best value propositions in hi-fi today. Buy this if you find vintage Pioneer SX series receivers in confirmed working condition that engineering is genuinely worth seeking out. Or if your budget reaches the Elite series, avoid it if you are buying current production VSX entry receivers. The Class D modules inside are the same ones you will find in receivers at half the price. 5 brands. 5 receivers that charge for engineering they do not deliver at the price point where most buyers make their decision. The technicians already know what they buy instead, and both of them have been building honest products since before most of these brands discovered what cost-cutting looked like. Arcam. Arcam has built amplifiers and receivers in Cambridge, England, since 1976. The brand has never been acquired by a medical technology company, never restructured to service acquisition debt, never managed by a division whose primary business is automotive audio. Every engineering decision Arcam makes is made by people whose only objective is acoustic performance. The SR250 stereo receiver uses a Class G amplification topology that Arcam developed to combine the efficiency of Class D with the sonic characteristics of Class A and B at real listening volumes. The power supply uses a toroidal transformer. Open the chassis, and the component quality matches what the specification states, not what a single-channel test at 1 kHz suggests. Verdict: honest engineering from a company that has never had a reason to cut corners because margin targets from an acquisition never entered the building. That matters. Buy this if you want a receiver where every component inside matches the price on the outside. Avoid it if you need the feature count of a current AV receiver. Arcam builds deep, not wide, and the specification sheet reflects that deliberately. That is the first brand that earns what it charges. 50 years of engineering without a single ownership change that redirected the priorities. The second has a longer history and a more specific product line that carries the engineering substance worth knowing about. NAD Masters. NAD Electronics was founded in London in 1972 with one engineering philosophy: measure what matters, spend the budget on the signal path, price the product honestly. The 3020 integrated amplifier became the benchmark for an entire generation of listeners. That philosophy still exists, but only in one part of the current lineup. The Masters series, the M10, M33, and M66, carries that philosophy without compromise. The M33 uses a Class D output stage developed with Purify Audio, a Danish engineering firm whose modules are specified by professional monitor manufacturers. The power supply, the digital processing, the analog output stage, every decision in the Masters series reflects the culture that built the 3020's reputation. Verdict: the Masters series is what NAD has always been: honest engineering at a price that reflects what honest engineering actually costs. Buy this if your budget reaches the Masters series and you are building a system you intend to own for 20 years. Avoid it if the Masters price point is out of reach. The Arcam SR250 delivers comparable engineering honesty at a more accessible entry point. Here is the principle I want you to take away from this video. One sentence. The brand name on the front panel tells you what the marketing department decided to charge. The power supply inside tells you what the engineering department was actually given to work with. Those two numbers are rarely the same. 3 words: honest, specified, serviceable. Every brand that failed scores 0 on at least 2 of those 3 at the price point where most people buy. Every brand that passed scores 3 out of 3, and neither of them needed a billion-dollar acquisition to justify what is inside the chassis. Which receiver on this list surprised you most? The one that failed or the one that passed? drop it below. See you next time.